I'm meteorologist Paul Dorian here on Tuesday morning, November 16th. Quite an interesting weather pattern setting up for Thanksgiving week across the central and eastern part of the nation. We have a strong cold front that will arrive in the eastern states on Thursday night. That will usher in another colder than normal air mass for Friday and Saturday for the mid-Atlantic region, the northeast U.S., and then it turns a little bit milder on Sunday. It looks like there'll be another charge of Arctic air plunging to the south and east out of Canada into the northern U.S. early next week. And it's that initial blast of Arctic air that could come with a storm system somewhere in the northeastern part of the nation. Additional cold air outbreaks are possible later next week and going beyond that, and additional storms are possible. Still way too early to get too definitive on who might get some snowfall out of this, if anybody, in the northeastern part of the nation next week. But the potential is certainly there for some cold air outbreaks and some storminess as well. Let's take a look here. I want to show three different models here, and all these maps, by the way, are from tropicaltidbits.com, of the 500 millibar height anomaly pattern for about the middle part of next week. Really, this is for Wednesday night, Thanksgiving Eve. And it's many, many days away, more than a week away, but it kind of highlights what are the cards on the table here for the middle of next week. This is the European ensemble run from last night at 0Z. Again, for next Wednesday night, Thanksgiving Eve. Several things to point out. First of all, significant blocking setting up here. These are higher heights than normal, usually associated with higher pressure than normal over places like Greenland and northeastern Canada. And that, if it's for a sustained period of time, and generally blocking is by definition for a sustained period of time, that increases the chance for cold air outbreaks into the northeast U.S. and increases the chance even in the middle of the winter, certainly, for some snow accumulations in the northeastern part of the nation. So European ensemble run certainly has a blocking pattern set up by the middle part of next week. Notice also strong high pressure ridging popping along the west coast of Canada and just off the Pacific Northwest of the U.S. That allows for some cold air outbreaks to really drop to the south and east from way up in northwestern Canada, south and east into the northern U.S. First, usually hits the northern plains and then spills out over into the mid-Atlantic, Great Lakes, northeast U.S. And finally, look at this broad area of upper level low. These are below normal heights, again, by the middle part of next week. A couple other smaller features that may be important. A little bit of an undercutting trough right here, maybe a little bit of a sign of what we call a 50-50 low right in this position there, 50 degrees latitude, 50 longitude, 50 west longitude right in this area. But three main players by the middle of next week. A strong ridge popping up along the west coast, upper level low situated in the central and eastern states, and significant blocking over Greenland. Now here's the ensemble run of the GFS from the same time, 0Z last night, for the same time, the middle part of next week, Wednesday night. Later Wednesday night, this is the Thanksgiving Eve. Again, signs of a strong block here over Greenland. But look at the position of that upper level low, where the European model has it farther to the east across central and eastern eastern U.S. The GFS ensemble run has the upper level low farther to the west, well to the west, across the Rocky Mountain states. Again, this is Thanksgiving Eve. It too has a high pressure ridge popping up along the west coast of Canada and the U.S., but this is a significant difference right here between the ensemble run of the GFS and the ensemble run of the European model, telling you that there's still a ways to go before we'll have any kind of a definitive signals for next week. Well, just to kind of complicate things a little bit further here, I want to take a third model look. This is the Canadian model from, again, last night, 0Z, for Thanksgiving Eve. It, too, suggests significant blocking here, a little bit displaced from where the European model had it, but northeastern Canada, southern part of Greenland, significant blocking set up. But look, it's kind of having a split pattern here in terms of the upper level low. This is a big one here that really has an impact earlier next week, the first couple of days of next week, and we'll look at that in a moment here. And another upper level low situated out over the southwestern states, high pressure ridge popping up along the west coast of Canada. So all three models tend to have some kind of blocking over Greenland or northeastern Canada and some kind of ridging along the west coast of Canada and the west coast of the U.S. But the placement of the upper level lows across the continental U.S. quite different from model to model. So this is something we'll focus in on over the next several days. Now in a moment I'll want to show the Canadian model run over the next several days, but before we leave this particular 500 millibar height anomaly map from the Canadian model, I want to go back in time from this particular time. This again, it's Thanksgiving Eve, but watch what the Canadian model, I'm going backwards in time now to the early part of next week, and look at this, what the Canadian model is doing. This is now by Monday night of next week, a couple of days before the previous set of maps. Blocking, yep, setting up over Greenland, and just a tremendous upper level low situated right here over the mid-Atlantic region by Tuesday morning of next week. This right here is a very interesting pattern that the Canadian model is putting out for the early part of next week. Well, let's stick with the Canadian model theme right now. Again, these maps from tropicaltidbits.com. Let's look at the 850 millibar temperature anomalies starting from this morning, Tuesday morning, November 16th. And we're back in time looking at the near-term changes in the overall weather pattern. Colder than normal. Another day of well below normal temperatures, places like D.C., Philadelphia, New York City, Boston, but much less wind today compared to yesterday when the winds were gusting up to 35 miles per hour or so. Big warm-up for today out across the middle part of the nation, and as we move forward, that milder air pushes into the mid-Atlantic region on Wednesday afternoon. A noticeable warm-up tomorrow afternoon as compared to today. The 40s today, the 50s, at least the 50s tomorrow, maybe the 60s in D.C. metro region. And it stays warm on Thursday as well. This is the Thursday morning forecast map. Again, we're looking at 850 millibar temperature anomalies from the Canadian model run of last night. And here's the next cold front right in this position right here come Thursday morning, and the next cold shot racing towards the mid-Atlantic region, northeast U.S. It arrives on Friday. Cold frontal passage Thursday night brings some shower activity with it. Not a heavy rain event, but certainly some showers possible. D.C., Philadelphia, New York City, Boston, Thursday night time frame. Cold, breezy on Friday, and then chill remains on Saturday. And then it backs down a little bit, and we get a little bit back closer to normal on Sunday, maybe a tad below normal. But look at this upstream by the time we get to Monday morning. This is a significant shot of cold air. And again, this makes some sense with the upper level ridge popping up along the west coast of Canada. You can get an Arctic type of air mass plunging from northwestern Canada into the northern U.S. next week. This is now early next week, Monday morning, the Canadian model, and it just dives to the south and east, and by the time we get to Tuesday, a significant colder than normal air mass into the mid-Atlantic region, the Great Lakes by Tuesday of next week. Again, very interesting outlook here for the first half of next week. Well, sticking with the Canadian model, again, the 0Z run from last night. This is Tuesday morning. This morning here, high pressure in control, far less wind today compared to yesterday in the northeastern part of the nation, but still colder than normal. And then that milder air that we saw in the 850 temperature anomaly maps today over the middle part of the nation. Tomorrow, as the winds, low-level winds become southwesterly, will make an appearance in the mid-Atlantic region. Certainly much warmer tomorrow afternoon in the I-95 corridor region compared to this afternoon. And here's that next strong cold front. Again, it reaches the eastern states on Thursday night. This is the Thursday evening forecast map. It will have a round of showers with it. I don't expect a heavy rain event, but certainly showers up and down the I-95 corridor region Thursday night with the next strong cold front. And that pushes on through by Friday morning. And Friday may turn out to be a day quite like yesterday, Monday, with strong west to northwest winds, much colder than normal air for this time of the year. Maybe a shower of rain or snow on Friday. It stays chilly on Saturday as well. It certainly becomes less harsh by the time we get to Sunday. This is Sunday. Maybe a mostly cloudy day in the Mid-Atlantic region, a little bit milder, maybe up to the lower 50s in the big cities on Sunday afternoon as compared to the 40s on Saturday afternoon. And notice up here, this is again the Canadian model now for Sunday morning. Here are the blue lines, the dashed blue lines representing the thickness levels, and very cold air starting to show up in the northern U.S. And here we are by Monday morning of next week. Powerful cold frontal system penetrating into the upper part of the Midwest. Look at the ice bar pattern here between this very strong Canadian high just to the north and west of North Dakota and a strong low over the Great Lakes. Strong fetch of air out of the north to the south, pushing in very cold air for this time of the year into the northern plains come Monday morning of next week. And that plunges to the south and east. And the Canadian model continues to have the threat of a storm off the Mid-Atlantic coastline by the time we get to early Tuesday of next week at the same time. Very cold air is pouring into the Mid-Atlantic region. This is the kind of potential that remains on the table for the early part of next week. Not all the models have it by any means. We saw there are big differences in the models. This is the Canadian model, and here we go by Tuesday morning, just a strong northerly flow of very cold air pouring into the Mid-Atlantic region. Again, this is a week from right now, next Tuesday of Thanksgiving week. Strong storm off the New England coastline by this time, as depicted by the Canadian model run. So this is the sort of potential there is for the early part of next week. There's additional cold air outbreaks and additional storm threats later next week and beyond. A lot to determine over the next few days, so we'll continue to follow this closely. That's it for now. I'm meteorologist Paul Dorian.